Welcome back to the Time for Heroes podcast, now in association with the Songbird HQ. Go to the songbirdhq.com for all your musical needs, latest news, reviews and interviews for some of the best signed and unsigned bands. The Songbird HQ also deliver PR services for new talent coming through. Right, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Matthew Hickman, frontman of Brownbear. I've had you on my old podcast, the Typical Time podcast, so I'll post a link in the show notes for people if they want to go and have a listen to that. But just for people that maybe aren't aware of you, can you just tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Brownbear, also Matt Hickman's my real name, and music's my thing. We've been going for 9 years now. We're on our second album, and yeah, it's been lovely. And I write songs, I write for people, and I now do a bit of lecturing, teaching people to write songs or helping young songwriters or songwriters of any age that are trying to up their game. So it's been a real journey over the last almost decade of what I was doing, but I've been really lucky to kind of, even after the last few years, stick in music. So yeah, that's me. That's what I do.
Right. So obviously, whereabouts did a young Matthew Hickman grow up? What was life like for you?
I grew up in Largs in North Ayrshire. It was like probably most people's experience of growing up in Ayrshire. You're born, they tell you to pick a side, and you kind of figure out the rules of the West of Scotland pretty early in life. And but I loved it, man. I'm really proud to be from Ayrshire. I was lucky enough to grow up in Largs, which was quite small, and I guess everyone kind of knows everyone. And when we started doing the band and started doing music, folk were kind of getting behind us just for the sake of someone from their town doing something, I think. And then, but you'll know how it is in the West. Like a lot of times things aren't focused around music or arts, and then it's very much like people work to drink at the weekend, and like doing music or being into music was just an obscurity. So I didn't really even know how to get started because it's not like we had a music scene or music venues. And so from a young age, I was putting myself up to the cities to just find out who would let me play a show somewhere, and it's a real shame because I think Ayrshire's full of really creative people and it's got a history for writing, but I mean, as is the case with a lot of places in Scotland now, it's just so underfunded, and there's so much austerity that people don't feel like they have.
Focused on the big cities, really, didn't it? Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So, what was it? What was life like for you? Was your mum and dad into music? Were they an influence on you?
Yeah, definitely. My mum and dad were really big into music. More so, my dad, he was a real often, he had his collection of records and CDs, and from a young age, his days off, he would spend listening to music. So when we got up on a Saturday morning, we'd be woken up to him blaring music. And I think the greatest thing that happened in the house is when we got those the first ever wireless headphones that you could connect to CD players. And then we're like, this is great because he can just listen to it himself and not interrupt the whole house. But he was music daft, honestly. And I was talking about this recently, he had this I just remember it being a run of numbers. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 25 or something. And I never touched them for ages because they were CDs. I didn't really get what they were. I was older, started pulling them out, and there was actually some sort of collection of blues music. So it was not say what number one was Sun House, and then BB King and Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and I would listen to everything. I would just in my spare time would pick out a CD I hadn't heard and put it on. So I was listening to honestly everything from a young age, and I never grew up in that kind of bullshit way of oh, the Beatles were the best band in the world and that's what everyone should listen to. Like I feel so grateful that that wasn't the way I was brought up, because I meet a lot of musicians now and a lot of artists, and they have come up and they just think the Beatles are everything, and you can hear it in their songs that they don't know anything other than
Yeah.
knockoffs of other music, right? Because that's
Hmm.
essentially what it was. And they don't have. I always say to people, like, if someone comes up to me and says that like their favorite band's the Beatles, I'm just instantly like bored. I don't even want to hear what they have to say, because it's like,
Yeah.
to me, it's like to me it means they've not thought about music. And if someone came up to me and said, "Oh, if I met someone at like a metal gig and they came up to me and said, 'What's your favorite band?' and they said, 'Do you know what? Actually, the Spice Girls,' I'd go, 'I need to talk to you because I need to know what it is about music that you love that's made you think that.' Because that's somebody that's thought,
Yeah.
irrespective of everything I've been told, this is what I'm into, and I'm like, I'm down for that. I say to people all the time, like, if someone hits me with some bullshit about the Beatles, I'm like, okay, cool, great, good for you, man.
I think when people say the Beatles as well, it's because they think the person wants to hear that. And
Exactly.
yeah, and chances are that probably the Beatles isn't their favourite band, but they just think it's the right answer.
Obviously, there's going to be someone who's telling the truth, but it's not everyone you meet. And everyone. And when I was in uni, I went to uni and I studied commercial music, and it was like the Beatles or the Smiths. And I was
Right.
like, is this the extent of music you have listened to? Like, somebody send some help.
Have you had have you ever had this conversation with Kyle? Kyle Faulkner, because obviously he's like a big Beatles fan, isn't
Oh God, it was
he?
just every time I said it, because I don't even mean it, but I'll say that I don't like the Beatles, and I don't even really mean it, right? But I'm just being like facetious. And every time I say it, like, how could you say that? Eh? Or, like, that's outrageous, like. And he'd go off on a pure tangent, and he'd explain to me how like the Beatles created music, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, well, I think that we need to be honest about how that came about, because they didn't. They stole music, and that's how they
Mhm.
ended up with how they were. Same with the Stones. But yeah, no, do you know what? Whatever anyone thinks about people saying the Beatles are their favorite artist, that is his favorite artist. He could tell you anything about any of the Beatles and any of the songs. Like, he loves and dies for that band. So like, I for all I say about people and that's not their favorite artist, that is his like. But also, he's got an amazing taste in music. Like, he's massive on Crowded House. I
Yeah,
remember one
I've
day.
watched all the videos of him doing crowded house and stuff like that for family parties and things like that.
Uh, so yeah,
Yeah,
he's music daft, and he loves pop music and like musical theatre as well. So he's really like a lot more into other things than he sometimes talks about. And
yeah,
when you get in the van with him and you've got the tunes on, it's, do you know what the go to was always Shania Twain's greatest hits.
yeah. Well, he done a cover on one of his singles,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
he? Black and Blue Eyes. That was a brilliant song as well.
yeah, yeah.
So obviously, Brown Bear started Brown Bear and the Bandits, I'm led to believe. Um,
Um, yeah. I mean, I feel like they were very different bands.
right.
So I don't really count them as the same project because it was different members and different songs. I think the only song that I carried over was Olive Tree because it was like my own wee song.
Hmm.
So I kind of count that as like one project, and then it didn't work. But I quite liked the moniker of Brownbear, so I just kept it and made
Right.
a new kind of act. But yeah, I would definitely say like it was a different project for me. And then when that ended, there was a period of me not doing anything. I was kind of in a limbo of like, what do we do? And I had a management at the time, and they said, well, let's just roll on and figure out what you want to call yourself, and we're just going to take a couple of the bookings, and we were working on some stuff for you, and that stuff turned out to be the Libertines Union. So
Right.
I didn't really know at the time. They said they were kind of like get yourself together, get your life together, figure out what you want to do. We were working on stuff in the background, and we know you've got a single that you want to use, and that hadn't been released, which was Dead or Alive, and we'll start from there. So I was just kind of like, well, who's going to be in the band? If I want to make a band, what songs are going to do? I reached out to get Sam Waller, who's still the drummer now.
Mhm.
We'd known him from being in a band called Miniature Dinosaurs, and I was like, I'm thinking about starting this new band. I think we were playing. We used to play FIFA together, and I was
Right.
like sitting chatting shit with him one day, like, and I was like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love your music, man. I love the way you write. Let's do it." We got in and started jamming, and then we got Andy in, who's sorry, we didn't. It was actually a couple of people. A guy called Chris. Was he first? I think he was the first guitarist.
Mhm.
And a bass player called Rudy, who the management knew. They were kind of like, here's this guy Rudy. He's a great bass player. Try and teach him some songs, and we started getting set together. And if I remember rightly, the first gig we did was like some like was it like the launch of Hard Rock Cafe in Glasgow or something? It was some weird like
Right.
corporate type event,
hmm Which
and
is probably as far away from Brownbear as you could get, really.
well, yeah, totally. It was so strange, and I guess at the time one of the managers had said this would be a great thing to do, and I was like, all right, like young and naive and like cool. I'll just trust whatever you say, and now thinking about that, like now when people know me and they know like you know I can't say who it was, but like someone like substantial offered us a substantial amount of money to do a show 2 days ago, and I was just like. I didn't even get into I just went, no, I'll tell them no. I just have no interest in them. And I think people were like, what? That's like a big deal. And I was
I
just
think
like,
that's brilliant, being that sure of yourself and like true to what you believe in.
well, you know what? I'm just like, I'm really principled. And I don't even think it's being so much sure of myself as like, I've reached a stage in life where I just don't want to do anything that doesn't make me happy. And
Mhm.
I work a lot with other artists on like artist rights and stuff like that. And I think the minute you accept anything less is the minute we encourage less. And I think
Yeah,
it's happened in music, and like I'm really strict with venues and stuff like that and promoters about paying. And I'm like, why is it that of all the businesses in the world that musicians are expected to work for free? I'm just not going to do that anymore. And um, if you don't want to pay it, that's totally cool. No hard feelings, but I'm not going to be there.
yeah,
And that's just how I live my life now. If it doesn't work for me, I'm not going to be there.
yeah.
And
But
because I want to protect the well-being of every, and this is the most important thing. It's not about money or whatever. It's about money in the sense that like everybody in my setup should be able to pay a bill. They should be able to pay for their food. And like
mhm.
to me, that's well-being, and that's like the minimum we should accept from any. And I think it goes for all. I mean, we're seeing it all over. Like there's strikes everywhere because people are not getting enough to live,
Yeah,
and it's not right. Like we deserve as humans to have the same access to like a decent life. That's not even asking for a good life. That's asking for the bare minimums. Like, so yeah, I'm like, I'm really, I think principled. Other people call me stubborn.
no, I would say principled. There needs to be more people fighting for things like that. I
Mm,
mean, the stuff that you're asking for should be the norm rather than
totally.
anything else. It should.
And sometimes like you'll know yourself, like, and I guess people maybe know or will know after this podcast or both podcasts. Like we've done a lot of things in our career, and a lot of them are like good. A lot of them are particularly whether they in reality played out as like they sound on paper. On paper, they're like amazing things to put in. Like if you were to do a promo package about how great we were, there'd be a lot of key points.
Yeah,
And sometimes promoters will get in touch with me and say, "Oh, like ticket sales aren't so good." And I'll say, "Well, I've done all this work. You could start doing yours." Like there's this thing of like music and promotion, but it's like the artist's problem to promote it. I'm like, sorry, you're the promoter. I made this record. I've got the band together. I've done all the socials. I've done all these things that you're able to post about to say why people should come and see us. I did that. That was my part of the bargain here. Like now
mm,
you've got that on the penalty spot, kick it in the goal. Stop making it my problem. But people are inherently lazy. I had one the other day, someone saying, "Oh, this," and obviously we just had again. I'm sure we'll come to that, but we just had some really cool news about the album and how well it done. And you think, well, you can see that you know what's happened. Post about it. Tell the people in your area or in your promotion. Send out a mailing list and say this is what happened for the starters, and they're coming here. That's
yeah,
not my job. That's your job. And I think that's the problem we have in music because we all so badly want to do it. We accept the bare minimum from everything because we think, well, if we don't just accept it, then we won't be able to do it. Whereas it's like, no, you have a right to do it. And those people in this business should also be doing their job. Like during lockdown, everyone got on their sofas and sang for saving venues, which is cool, man. But like nobody sang to save artists, and those venues will still be open, not paying artists. So like, what are we saving them for? There's a lot of venues out there who won't pay you to play. So what do you need them for? Like go and make your own spaces. Go and play in someone. I'd rather go and play in someone's living room for nothing than in a venue for nothing. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So if I'm going to get paid nothing, I'm going to go and spend some time with people who actually want to see me rather than bursting my chops to get to fill people in a venue so that they buy food and drink there and pay them and not me. And I
yeah, because
think like
that's really what they care about in it is
yeah,
how much you make through the bar and stuff like that.
yeah, and that's not every venue. There's some incredible venues out there. Particularly, you find that to be the case in rural areas and like the Highlands and Islands, or like when you get into the Ayrshires, they have such a love and respect for you traveling that they really want to make sure it works. It tends to be cities that kind of go well because they know they can just get any old person in
Yeah.
through the door.
Well, I mean that touches on the fact that like these smaller areas, they're grateful to have you because they're not getting people coming to play there.
No, because they get treated as like Ayrshire, for example, treated as like a subsidiary of Glasgow by big promoters. So they're kind of like, well, people from there will just travel to Glasgow for shows, and it's not put them on in that area. Whereas people from Fife don't want to have to get a train to Edinburgh to see a gig all the time. They want to see gigs in Fife.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
so it's yeah,
I stay in Wishaw, and it's even a fucking ball ache for me getting into Glasgow for gigs. Like obviously,
totally.
when I came to see you the other week, um, because of public transport, I missed the first support act. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
there you go.
that's just Wishaw to Glasgow. That's pretty easy on the train, but it has a pain in
Aye.
the heart. So
And you know like yourself, like so if you have a day like that, it's like the train adds another like £5 to £10.
mhm.
And then if you have to get dinner in, that's like 15 to 20 quid. So like it takes a gig from being like a tenner to being like 40, 50 quid, which isn't achievable for everyone. Like that's especially not now. Like
Yeah.
and then for some people they go, well, I'll have to get a hotel. That could be like the hotel could be like 10 times the price of the ticket for
Mhm.
some bands. So like it's not achievable for some people to be able to travel. Whereas if you could walk down to that show, you'd be like, well, I'll pay whatever. Like and obviously when we did that last tour in the regional areas, we did pay what you can. And there was one show that refused to do pay what you can. They said, how will we make money if we let people pay what they want? And it did the worst. Every other show
Yeah.
did amazing because people came in and went, and if someone couldn't pay, they couldn't pay, and that's totally cool. But they got to experience music even in their worst moment.
Yeah.
And
And you'll probably find with things like that because people are more relaxed and able to pay what they like, you'll probably find that those venues probably did make more money through the bar and stuff like that because people are more relaxed and more willing to enjoy yourself and have a
totally,
drink and stuff like that or whatever.
I had a friend who used to own a venue, and he said the worst thing that happens in a music venue is when a band plays because people aren't buying drinks. That was the genuine like ethos of people that run venues. Not everyone, like I'm saying, but like there is a real thing of that, and I think when that's like, I think that's why like they have sofa sound shows and they're always sold out, and it's like in wee quirky venues and people sit on the floor and not one person speaks, everybody listens, and everybody comes up and talks to you. I think it's because probably all those people are people who think, well, I wouldn't go to a normal gig because I don't like being in a sticky venue with loads of chatting and loads of beer and like they forget that people actually love to hear music. Like actually, do you know what? Bands aren't annoying. Bands are really incredible, and it's great to hear new music.
Yeah,
And but people know that you're not actually putting on new music for the sake of it. You're doing it for like whatever. So I think I often feel that in life, people assume like the general public or people outside of the business to be like stupid. And I think even if people can't pinpoint what they don't like about it, they know that something's not right or it's disingenuous. They might not be able to put their finger on what that is, but they can get the sense of like,
mhm.
I'm not into something about this. And then they don't come back. And it's like, well, they're not into it because it's not real. And I think that for so many, I see so many bands, and I've been here 10 years almost, and I was in Brownbear and the Bandits before. And there's so many bands who I've seen coveted as like, this is the next big band. And I don't even know if they still make music. And the minute I heard it, I went, I don't know if I believe it. And people go, oh, you're just cynical. And I go, I'm just telling you my gut feeling. I just don't believe something about it. And lo and behold, it doesn't work because
Yeah,
if I don't believe it, the crowd doesn't believe it. The band probably don't believe it. They probably get fed up trying to pretend to be that. And it just
mhm.
becomes miserable for everyone. Whereas I think just go out and be yourself. Just be proud of who you are. And like, it might take a long time to to meet the right people who love your music. But when you do meet them, they'll be with you for life. Like,
Yeah, and I mean that's probably what you found with your fan base. You've had that fan base, and it's grew organically
yeah,
through the nearly 10 years you've been.
yeah. Do you know the biggest compliment I think I've ever had? And I don't think they weren't mean it to be offensive, but they didn't mean it as a compliment. They were just like talking. I was writing with an artist, and they said, "Do you know what's funny about you? Like, you might never have got any bigger, but you've never got less. And really the most difficult thing in music is to not become less because there's so many diminished returns. So like you've stayed consistently at one level or above. Like you've never dropped a level, you've never gone back down anywhere. You've always like grown and then stayed. And
Hmm.
you might stay there for a while and it might take a while to get the next, but you've never decreased. And I was like, well, cheers. I don't. I
Yeah,
guess cheers. That's a good thing, right? And but I always feel that part of it's just that I'm a normal person. Like someone once, in all the places in the world, I was in Norwich with folk,
right.
and I was in the street, and someone came up and said, "Oh, are you brown bear?" And I was like, "The fuck do you know what that is?" And they said, "Do you know what I love about you? Like you come out and you'll do a bunch of things, and then you just fuck off, and nobody knows what you're doing." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm just a normal person. I've always just gone and seen my family and seen my pals and like working on whatever I'm working on, and I don't feel like I don't feel like I need to post every day and say I'm at Pizza and Express or whatever and do a TikTok. I just fuck that shit. I don't give a shit about that. Like, and nobody
Yeah.
else, nobody wants to know about like nobody wants to know how I pack my fridge and all that. Just get a grip. Like they want to know how they want to know that I'm making music. They want me to turn up and do it well, right? And that's what
Uh-huh.
I'm going to do. People don't need to know the other shit. That's irrelevant.
I mean, people probably think most rock people would probably think that rock stars don't pack their fridge. You know what I mean? Like, they forget that you've got like another life outside of on a
Yeah.
stage playing guitar. You know what I mean? They forget that you need to do your shopping, do the hoovering and housework and stuff like that.
I've got
So
right into ironing lately. I didn't.
yeah,
I always used to look at it and think this looks dreadful, but it's quite relaxing.
oh,
Got like
don't
right
mention
into it.
iron. I'll get a pile of that today later before I go
Oh
to
my!
work.
See if I turned this laptop right now. The piles that higher than my roof.
Eh, so obviously you touched on your manager. Your manager at the time was that Adrian Hunter.
So we had two managers. We had a manager called Miles Goodwin, and a manager called Adrian Hunter.
Yeah,
Uh,
Adrian's a previous guest on the podcast. So
yeah, and Adrian's like he's not doing anything to do with music anymore, sadly. But
mhm.
he was like he was one of the great minds of music. Like I learned a lot from him, and I think like it's probably really difficult to understand. Like I didn't really get it when it was happening, but see that whole Libertines Union, see everything that happened, see all of that happened.
Uh-huh.
Like that was orchestrated by Adrian. He
Right.
planned everything meticulously. This is how it's going to look when we get to here, and then we'll be able to get to here, and then we get to here, we'll get to here. And I almost felt that like when he left, that derailed. It didn't. If he'd stayed, I feel like they maybe would have gone to these insane places because he was just
Yeah.
he
So I
he
mean, when did he leave then? Like kind of obviously they played Hyde Park and then they played like Reading and Leeds and then there
yeah
was kind of that gap. So was it in between then?
yeah after all that the peak
Uh-huh. Because that
and
that
that
was kind of like their first comeback, and it didn't really last. And then
yeah
they came back again with the album.
yeah so he was there for the album and not for like Reading and Leeds and then and that year they played Tea in the Park, Reading and Leeds, but they also played Glastonbury, and I don't think any other acts ever headlined
Right.
all three. I think that was like history to do that, and obviously like that was really last minute, so they flew them in
Hmm.
to Glastonbury. It was like, and I was with them through that whole. I honestly, man, like I still can't believe that that wasn't documented because I remember living through all of that, going something crazy is going on here. I was working for them, so I ended up because of Adrian in the lull for the band because there was the reunion. Sorry, so the reunion happened first, which was great. But then that year happened with the album, and somehow, and I remember being there in the chart day, and they're like, "Are they going to get number one? It has to happen." And then, if I'm correct, it was Enter Shikari that came in just above them by like
Uh-huh.
a number of sales, and that felt like the first real blow of like, wow, how did that happen? And then it was just incredible. Like, and honestly, like the crew were the most exceptional crew. They were flawless from top to bottom in their execution of productions, and for a band like that can be quite erratic or have a lot of erratic people try to be involved in the process, I think the crew that they picked really kept everything so structured and so like, and I learned so much from them. Like, I was just like brought in. I don't even really know what my job was. I
Mm.
think they just thought he's a music guy. He should be in this camp. And as it would happen, like I would do one thing for one person in the crew, and someone would say, "Oh shit!" I think how the crew bond started, because the one thing I would say about that setup is it felt like there was a bit of like a management upper team and a crew who felt like we were just a crew. Sometimes that happens on
Mm.
a tour, just the nature of it. Um, I'd been told when we got to Reading, it was Leeds was first. Leeds was first. You're just to make sure everyone has everything they need. That was what I was told my job was, make sure everyone has everything that they need. Cool. So when I got to site, the only people there were the riggers, like the proper crew,
Uh-huh.
And I went up to them, naive as fuck. Does anybody want anything? Like, would you like some tea or water? The riggers were like, and there were some riggers there that were old, man. They were like, in my whole time rigging, I've never had anyone offer me anything. And I was like, well, fuck, man, that's my job. And then when that came from that into the tours, some of those people stayed, and I would still be the same. So they would be like, I think they knew he doesn't really get what he's supposed to be doing, but they would say to me like, "Do you want to come and learn how we do this? Do you want to come see how we rig the lights? Sorry, hey, do you want to come and see how we do the security protocol? Or hey, do you want to come and see how this works on a tour?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, man, fuck yeah, man, fuck yeah." And next thing on the tour, I'm kind of buddying around with the security guys, and I've learned a lot about crowd control, and ultimately, I learned so much about the production of a show that's how I ended up being a tour manager. I was obviously tour manager for Kyle for, I think, I don't know, maybe almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And that came because of that. Like and I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do half the things I did. If someone came up and said, "Could you make this happen?" I was like, "Guess I have to," and I would be like, in the middle of a field trying to get like something. Sometimes I think, look back and think they definitely just wanted to see how far they could push it. They used to go, "This is a bit wild that he gets all these things to happen. Let's ask him to do this." Next thing I'd come back with this thing, and they'd be like, "How the fuck did you get? We're in the middle of nowhere." And I'd be like, "Oh man." But what I would do is like use this accent and got someone say, "Excuse me, you need to make that happen, pal." And they go, "Oh my god, I think I have to make that happen." So they would go and do it for me, and I'd just take it back and get the credit.
So yeah, I mean, like you're the one of the nicest guys, but that it's the Scottish accent as well that does it, doesn't it? People
Oh,
are
100.
always wary of the accent.
And obviously I look very like a mixed race, but I have very African features. So I think there's another layer if they just can't figure out. I think there's a shock of like, is that your accent? And I'm like, yeah, it is. Now get it done. And they're like, oh, this this guy is really intense. But I remember at Reading and Leeds, there's like what happens in the festival like that is you quite often get assigned a driver, and they'll drive people to and from hotels. And I had the guy. He was so lovely. He'd actually been the driver for Alicia Keys before, and when he was walking around the festival, he used to just see me. People would just see me in a loop, and they used to go, "Do you ever stop? You're like the angry wee Scottish guy." And I'd just be like, "Excuse me, you need to do this." Like that. And I think they used to think like basically what happened was anything that was awkward to ask, they said send Matt because he doesn't know that's awkward. Because I didn't know it was an awkward thing to ask. I just thought I had to ask people. And I think people would think in the setup, I feel awkward about asking this, so I'm going to ask Matt to ask it because he doesn't know that he should feel awkward. And because I didn't feel awkward asking it, people tended to respond and go, "Yeah, I get it. Yeah, sure." And then yeah, it was amazing, and I learned so much. it still is one of the best times of my life, and I've got Adrian to thank for that. Like he really brought me in. Just I think he just knew like I hadn't had much going on in life, and things weren't working out with Brown Bear and the album. We hadn't managed to get a deal, and he thought, "Oh fuck, what will I do to help this kid out?" And he brought me in and just threw me in the deep end, and
Yeah.
I learned so much. So
And obviously, along with the tour management, you were getting support slots as well with the Libertines, weren't you? So you were getting the music out to a different audience as well.
yeah,
The, did you play with them at Hyde Park?
yeah, we did. We did the Hyde
See, I
Park
went
show.
to that gig and I can't mind seeing you. Were you on early, like one of the first ones on? Sorry.
Yeah, well, there was different stages in that as well, wasn't there? So we were in
Yeah,
like,
because the View played a couple of stages, I think, that day.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if I should tell this story or not, but the view played when people played on the Sony stage. It was a wee outside stage. They all
Uh-huh.
got like everyone in the band got free PlayStation 4s, and I remember being raging that we weren't on that stage because we'd loved free PS4s. And
Mhm.
maybe about a week later, it was I don't know your football affiliation here, but it was the Maestro's testimonial moment, the next day
Yeah,
testimonial.
was that the one that Kyle and Pete played?
No, so Kyle didn't play that one. It was Martin
No.
Compson and James McAvoy played it,
Right.
and we were there sitting having lunch at I think Maggie Mays or something before we went along to the game, like me, Adrian, and Kyle. And Kyle turned to me and was like, "Mate, I just bought myself a new PlayStation 4, but I don't really like it. Would you like to buy it off me? I'll give it cheaper." And I was like, "I was there when you got it free." And he went, "Oh fuck." It's, uh, absolute chancer. But yeah, so yeah, we played really early doors at that, but we were the support first. So like I met that crew and the people in that team as a support artist, and it was when they came back into it was Tea in the Park 2015 was the first time I worked for them. I
Hmm.
got like a phone call in the morning. They said, "Oh, we need someone to deal with the guest list for us and like escort people back and forth. Could you come and do it?" And I was like, "Sure." I mean, I'm not doing anything today, and I'm so glad I did because yeah, I ended up working all those festivals, and then they toured after it, and I got a phone call actually the day before the tour, and they said they've had a discussion like, could you come on the tour? And I was like, I'd actually just been through a breakup, and I was sitting in my flat like, what am I going to do in my life? Like, I'm just had to move out and all that, and then I got this phone call and said, could you leave tomorrow morning? And I was like, fuck it, yeah, do anything to get away from life right now. And then that was me, just on tour with them and learning the ropes, and it was amazing.
And do you think that kind of obviously the tour management and stuff that you did, do you think that that helps you now? Obviously, because you take um, most of the management work is on yourself with Brown Bear now, isn't it? So,
Yeah, definitely. It taught me a few things. It taught me etiquette. It taught me what to expect from a venue. Um, it made me a lot of contacts at venues because I just generally like quite amiable as a person, so I got on with a lot of people. So when it came time for Brown Bear to do stuff, a few venues that maybe shouldn't have had us because they were like, "Well, it's Matt," and he did right by us when he was a tour manager, and it let me know like this is how things should run when we're on tour and budgets and stuff like that. So like knowing, and this is so funny because like we don't tour as much because it can't afford to, but it's because I'm saying, well, I know this isn't going to make financial sense because I've done budgets before,
mhm.
but it protects all the people in the band and makes sure that nobody loses money. So, and now when they turn up to shows, they're like, this is so good. Like they've all been in bands before, so when they turn up to our shows and like we've got the proper setup for everyone, they're like, this is amazing and it runs so well. And then when you're obviously there on Friday, as it looks like when the setup runs professionally, everyone on the stage will act professionally.
Hmm.
And I feel like our band are exceptional. But I think part of it's because they are exceptional musicians, but part of it's because the setup is so professional that everyone knows these are the rules. This is how we do things. We respect the place we're in. We deliver for the audience, and then I think I learned so many skills from that, and also just how to like be in meetings and to know my worth and to know what things are worth and to know that when someone's trying to bump me, because I'm like, well, nah, no, that's not right. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to accept that, And I think a lot of artists would do well to go and work on tours and learn the other side and then take it back. I learned so much, and then it makes. I think the more you can know about the business, like the more control you'll have over your career. That's the way I've always looked at it, and that's a nice place to be when you know what's a good deal and a bad deal, and when you're
Mhm.
being exploited and when you're not. And I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to learn that. And I couldn't suggest it enough. Like, and also just to understand that, like, I had no idea how much the people that set up the stages and the sound and all that did in a day. And now I think they're like time for heroes. Like they're the heroes of this business. Like those people who go in at the start of
Mhm.
the day and they're the last people out. They're the ones that make this business run. Like during the lockdown, I felt so much for that crew because a lot of them that is their life, and in terms of everyone else, they're not the best paid, but the show's just music wouldn't exist without crew.
Yeah, and
Like live
they
music,
can be up and down the country as well. They finish a tour and then they're away on another one, and it's
100%. Like they are the hardest working people in the world and the biggest music fans, and they do it because they love music. They might not play an instrument, but like they love music more than half the bands on that stage.
Mhm.
You're listening to the Time for Heroes podcast in association with the Songbird. Check it out. Martin, you're an absolute legend. What are you? An absolute legend.
We'll touch on the album. Obviously, you brought it "Dead or Alive" as a first single, 2014, and then obviously you had all your Libertines support stuff like that. Then you came onto the album "What Is Home" in 2018. So, how was it recording that? Obviously, that's your first album.
It was good. I think like the thing about What's Home is like we had no money, and I'm really proud of what we made on pretty much nothing. Um, it meant a lot of favors and a lot of like goodwill, and but with that comes like you have to restrict how you make a record. Like you have a lot of ideas, you have these things of how you want it to sound, but it's like, well, we can't make that happen, or we can't get that in.
Uh-huh.
Um, I feel like we worked with a producer who obviously really helped make it happen, but they were also quite safe as a producer. They had their comfort zone, and it
Uh-huh.
meant that I always felt that album sounded like a safe album. Like it was a sure bet. It was good. I still listen to some of it and go, I wish we'd done it a bit differently.
Right.
Um, but like that's how it should be. Like your first record's like every record you do is learning. So like
Yeah.
that sounded exactly how it should sound for the situation we were in. If
Mhm.
not better than it should have sounded actually.
I mean,
Take credit.
there's some absolute classics on that record.
Yeah. And
And
I talk about this a lot. Like if the songs are there, the production's a bit easier. And I think we had the songs. We've always like it's funny because it's not like I don't know how other bands operate, but it wasn't like that was only the 10 songs we had for that record. It's just the 10 that people will hear.
yeah.
And and then it's the same for this record, it's 10 songs. Probably no one will ever hear those other songs. Because I'm a purist and I think songs that are meant to be OB and the ones that weren't aren't.
Right.
Whereas a lot of bands like go, and then here's this extra thing and all these songs that weren't. And it's like or like even some bands like some bands it baffles me because they'll release an album, right? And then they'll release like this extra album and there's all these other songs. But I'm listening to the first album without the extras and thinking, this isn't even 10 good songs. You
Mm.
shouldn't have. Why did you release this? Like, and I get there's time constraints and pressures. I just think that sometimes the art of writing's died a little bit, and songs don't come first anymore. And I'm like a songs come first. So like we knew we had 10 songs that really worked together, and that comes with recording as well. It's not like like because it's probably again like I think both records we probably had like 14 to 15 songs, and then it kind of whittles down to 12, and then we know we've got to drop two. So
Right.
like maybe like 15 are completely demoed, and then 12 are fully recorded, and then 10 make the record. And that's this album actually was more than that. I think there was over 20 songs demoed
Right.
um, for the second album. So yeah, like I'm really proud of it, but and it's a lot of work. But as I say, it was easier to do because we had the songs, and then
It's funny what you said about, obviously earlier you said about Brown Bear and the Bandits, and the only kind of song that stayed for there was Olive Tree,
yeah,
which obviously I messaged you a few months ago. Obviously, my sister died, and I says I've been walking to work, and that came on, and it kind of struck a chord for me. It reminded me of my sister. And you're thinking, well, that was before Brown Bear, that was Brown Bear and the Bandits, and we're talking nearly 10 years on, and that song still strikes a chord somewhere for somebody. So that's kind of that must give you like a sense of achievement, a sense that you're doing something right, that that song can connect somewhere.
yeah. And it's always hard to hear that because it's horrible that you've been through that loss. But
Mhm.
I suppose, like for me, it's I wrote that place. I wrote that in a place of coming through loss. So when I know that someone else has been through that and it's connected with them, then I know, well, in a way, like it's been worth it because somebody's had a feeling that I had and maybe
Yeah.
work through that feeling. And I think the thing is, a real song, a song that's from like a real place, will stand the test of time. And I
Hmm.
want to make songs that stand the test of time. And I think because I write in that, someone said it to me recently, like even when it has like a bit of a poppier production, like the songs still feel like a throwback to like how songs used to be. It feels like nostalgia, even though it's like a new record and a new song and a new sound. It
Hmm.
feels like nostalgia, and all that is to me is just because I'm writing from a real place, and like now the way songs work is like even, but I'm not going to name the bands. I don't want any beef, but like you can figure it out. Even bands now that are coming out that are bands, like if you go and look on the song credits, there's like 7 writers on the songs. It's like
Yeah.
how does what why how and why? Somebody explain what's happening. Like why
Well,
does that need to be the
why
case?
would you not want to take control of your own music, and why would you not want it to be yours rather than
What could you imagine like trying to tell a story at a party and your six other people were jumping in and telling the story for you? But like, hold on a wee minute, I'm telling the story.
yeah.
Like it's no different, and that's what it sounds like in a song. I actually listen to it and go, whoa, like whoa, whoa, whoa. You can hear like, and this is my wee bit, and this is my wee bit, and this is my wee bit, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's just walk them out of the room and write a tune, like get on with it. And I think for me, like I'm not saying I don't co-write, I do. I mean, Lyle Kennedy from the Ranzos, he wrote on Close Call with me. Love it,
Hmm.
loved it. He's such a great lyricist. I really loved vibing with him for that. Um, and I write for a lot of other people, I would say. But even then, it's usually like one other person, and it's because of like I was doing a bit of writing with Mark Sharp, which hasn't really gone anywhere. But we've kind of said, well, let's revisit it.
Right.
But it's just because
Oh,
we're
you're artist
vibing
as well, Mark.
exactly. But we're just two people who are in the room vibing music together. We've not gone in and sat down and gone, oh well, let's write a pop song and we'll get 5 other producers on it. And nah, that's not how music works for me.
Mm. I look forward to hearing that stuff because obviously I'm a big fan of Mark as well. I've had Mark on the podcast, and I've been covering him a bit for Songbird as well.
Yeah.
So, aye, that would be ideal to hear some with the two of
I,
yous about it.
I basically pitched a record at one point. I've been doing, I did a thing called the Songwriters Club, and I had like a night and it's always songwriters, and there's 4 of us, and we sat around and sang songs. And I think the first one was like me, Billy Mitchell, Kitty, and Carol Connor.
Hmm.
And then I was doing those Sunday social podcasts where I was like on chatting to artists and shooting shit. And then I was thinking after, like, I'd love to do a record that's like Brown Bear's Sunday Social or Brown Bear at the Songwriters Club, where I do like collaboration album where I just like do songs with like my favorite writers. I still got it in my head. I might do it at some point. So I guess when I had it in my head, I started to like reach out and say like, just see, like I was speaking to Mark and wrote a little bit of a guy called Johnny Kerwin who's in False Friends. They're a great band. if you haven't heard them. And yeah, I was just batting around some ideas of like, oh, could I have a record like that that's again a little bit different and a little bit like a great way for us all to like we all have like our own audiences, and
Yeah.
could we all reach each other's audiences doing something just different. And just I think after like lockdown, a lot of us were like, we just want to find a love for music again because it's been taken away by the circumstance the last few years.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. I'd be really interested in that. Obviously, you mentioned lockdown. Oh, so during COVID, you released Retro.
Yeah.
So how was COVID for a musician? Obviously, not being able to tour, not being able to record as much. How did you cope with that?
It was such a weird one because there was layers to it, you know. We'd recorded Retro and we were hyped. I was getting ready to come back to being in Brown Bear because I'd been away tour managing for a lot of time.
Hmm.
So in a way, I didn't panic at first in the sense that I'd worked so much that I thought my plan was always to take a little bit of time off and focus on writing and some music. It's not the ideal situation to be doing that, but it still was the situation. Retro was intended to come out. It was to kickstart everything, another single, and then we'd start working on the record.
Hmm.
And came out in the lockdown, came out, and it was just like, man, that could not have scored. And it wasn't like during the lockdown, as in like it wasn't like there was periods of lockdown as well. You know what I mean? Like that was the
Yeah,
first bit where everyone was like, ah. It wasn't the period where we'd all settled into it, and so if I'd released it in the middle of it, it might have been like the biggest song of all time because there's nothing else to listen to. It was like right at the beginning that and it just got lost, just totally got lost in the shuffle, and it was gutting because I felt like it was um, it was a great wee single, and then we were trying to prep the next single and figure out how we got it all out, and it was just a disaster from because it was like, oh, we're going to be out a lot, no, we're back in a lot, oh, we're going to be out, no, it's a lot, oh, and then we're
yeah,
allowed out, but there's these restrictions, oh, you're back in. So it just became a really confusing time, and as you know, it became this thing of like everyone busking from their sofas, and then it became oversaturated because everybody had like, oh, blah blah blah, and then we were like, well, what do we do? And I had an album demoed, and I was starting to live with it and starting to write again, and I was like, do you know what, this album's not that great. So that's the
right,
good thing that came out of me. I was at home and I ended up rewriting a lot of stuff and writing new songs, and which became this record that's out now.
right.
Um, and I taught myself to play piano, which like, changed my writing style and helped me write some more like different styles of tunes. And so yeah, I suppose I made the most of it. I made the most of the situation I was dealing with. But
Hmm.
it got tough because I was finally at home and I finally had to deal with a lot of things I'd been through in life, and I'd been using touring and gigging and music to be away from. And next thing I knew, I was at home and I had literally nowhere to go other than the four
Yeah,
walls I was contained in. And but out of it, I started writing again, and I started to be really reflective. And I think I've written some of my best stuff in the sense of like, for me personally, it feels like
uh-huh. So
my best stuff.
how does the songwriting process work in terms of the band? Do you write all the songs and then take it
Yeah,
to the band?
yeah. And this one was even weirder because I wrote all the songs and then essentially played in all the parts in the demo and said, "Is everyone cool with that?" And then when so when we made this record, it was pretty. I mean, you'll be able to see it on the back of the record if anyone has it. Like it's pretty much me and the producer, and then the drummer
Right.
played. Like the drummer came in, Sam, and then I played like most of the guitars and keys, and then Ross played the bass and the organs, and we did the vocals, and then we had the backing singers come in for a session, and Angela Chan, who was in Kyle's band but in Placebo, she played the strings for us from home. And we had a guy called Mikey Ores come in to do the horns. Um, so it was very limited because even when we came out, like there were still restrictions into how you could work and
Yeah.
social distancing and all these things. And obviously music was the last thing allowed back. Like it was the last that everyone had been out and had that buzz of being out, and by the time music came back, that buzz was gone, and people didn't quite support it like we thought we would. And so yeah, it was such a strange thing because usually I would go to the band and I'd take the songs and we start jamming them. This time it had to be very much like I had to figure out what I wanted the record to be. And I was on my own, like, oh.
So when you kind of take that to the band, obviously, are they able to kind of listen to that and interpret it and maybe put their own stamp on certain parts? Or are you sitting there thinking, no, I'll play it like this?
That's yeah, it's pretty much use the record, learn it.
Right. Because everybody looks really happy when in the band, so they obviously know how good the music is to start with. They're obviously quite happy to
Yeah, but
go on that path.
they're all like, I mean, this with the greatest respect to anyone who disagrees, but they're all proper musicians, so they understand that like songs are the most important thing, and that like less is more, and like people who wouldn't be happy with that aren't really there for the music; they're there for themselves. Because if
Mm.
a song's great and you love the part, you're going to be that. But that's not to say that sometimes when we're playing live, like Andy, especially, there's like different sounds. You'll say, well, there's a couple of sounds going on here. How are we going to recreate this live? I came up with this bit. Does that? But cool, man, I'm into that. So it's not like this is the record and everyone plays it as it is. But I mean, the record sounds great. We need to figure out how to play it live, which we all do together. But it's not like someone was ever going to come in and be like, well, nah, I thought you should have made this part in that record. Like, we worked with really amazing people for it. So that's a tough one. But because sometimes, like, whenever I see new bands, right, or I get brought in to write with people, or I'm doing lecturing or whatever it is I'm doing with like new artists, the biggest thing I have to say to people is please stop playing. Like, first and foremost, let me hear the song, and then secondly, why are you playing all that stuff? Like, guitar players love to play. You see bands and you hear this riff going all the time, and eventually I'm like, I can still hear that riff. I can still hear that riff. And what they don't get is like if I'm hearing that riff, it means I'm not hearing the song.
Yeah.
And you've already that's why you're not progressing, because all that noise means that if there's lots of noise happening, it means I'm not listening to that other thing that's really important, which is the music and the melody and the lyrics. Right. And if all I'm hearing is I never understand it. There'll be like a vocal line going on and the guitar part will be playing over it. I'm like, shut up. Why are you playing? We're not here to listen to the guitar solo. And it, so and it, I'm that's what I mean. If you want to go and listen to guitar music, just go and listen to people that just play guitar. Like,
Yeah.
think about all the you don't hear like, even in guitar bands, like they still understand that like when certain things are happening, the riff isn't happening, and that's the biggest thing that people do. Think that everything all at once. Bah, 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 bah. It's like, no, everything has to have its own space, and
Yeah.
then like close call. Da, 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 da. Like if that happened the whole song, it wouldn't have the impact it has. It has impact because when you hear it again, you go, riff, I love that riff. Makes you want to sing it because I'm only going to hear this like one more time. If that happened through the whole song, you'd be like, all right, that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Or it becomes background noise. You just stop hearing it. When when someone, when someone in your life nags you all the time, and eventually it just becomes noise. You know what I mean? And you just go, like it's the same in music. If you hear it all the time, it doesn't mean anything. Like if what's that? There's a film. It's called The Foxcatcher. It's about a collegiate wrestling thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of those Oscar films. And I'm not gonna spoil it for anyone, but like basically, it's not like based around loads of like, in films. There's always loads of violence. There's guns, like in like an Avengers film or something, you become so desensitized to killing, even though the fact that your favorite superhero is actually just murdering like innocent police officers, you're like, that happens all the time. But in this film, like somebody brings a gun into it at some point, and because it's one time you see a gun, it's so intense, and you're like, because it has the actual significance of what a gun would be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same in music. It's like if a riff happens all the time, it has no worth. If I hear this, all the time, it has no worth. Or the opposite thing people do is like they only do it once. And I'm like, that's an amazing rehook. Why have you only done that once? I want to hear that again. It's like
Yeah.
that's how hooks work. Like if you do that again, like you've got yourself a hit. Like so, it's really frustrating because I'm like, what is it what's happening here that you're like we're getting to this stage. So I spend a lot of time with people who are just refining things and going like, no, like think about it, like because like we're not trying to trick the audience. Like some people have this thing of like, yeah, but that's what people expect to hear. Well, good, give them that. Like they're paying to hear it. Why is that a bad thing? If people expect to hear that, let them hear it like that. That you want your audience to be happy. You want them to enjoy the music they're hearing, and it should feel like accessible. Music shouldn't be like I'm better than you. You know what? You're not. This audience isn't intelligent enough to get what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like. Sometimes people are like, nah, they just don't get how good I am. Like, you just don't get how this business works. I mean, that's one person's opinion. Yeah.
So would you then recommend these kind of songwriting classes, summits, or whatever? Would you recommend that more people were part of them? Obviously, Kyle's got one out in Spain, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. And I mean, every time I look at that, there's somebody else is away. I mean, it always seems to be artists that I'm aware of that are out there. So
Yeah.
it's good to
It's,
see that there's a bit of collaboration and a bit of artists help other artists.
I guess it's like, yeah, I think it's a skill, isn't it? And you like go and learn as much as you can, and keep, if you were a footballer and you signed to a bigger club, it's not like you stop attending training. Well, I
Yeah,
play for Arsenal now, so I don't have to train. So like, you can always learn, and also just like some of them are great, some of them are run by really great writers, and it's all. I taught them one called Song Seeds, kind of created and run by Becky Wallace, and um, it was really amazing because Becky brings in like different styles of writer. I stayed for the whole thing. I just kind of hung about and was kind of giving people song advice for the whole week after I'd done my masterclass. But they had someone from like the folk world and someone in from the punk world, and they were teaching all the different ways of writing songs, and it was really amazing to see how other people think through songs in different fields. Because for folk music, like a lot of the tools that are relevant to what I do are completely irrelevant. So it's amazing to hear that. Whereas like the next day, like I'm saying to people, everything you learned yesterday for what we're doing today is irrelevant. And then the next day they were saying everything you learned the last 2 days is irrelevant because it's a different style of song. So
mm-hmm.
I think it's so good to always push your boundaries as a writer and, figure out what else you can do, and yeah, I would really suggest it for people. Again, songwriting courses are cool, like at uni. If you want to do it, do it. But I guess make sure you know the people that are running it and that you kind
Yeah,
of respect them as a writer.
yeah. I mean, yeah, you definitely would need to connect with the person you're working with as well. There's no point
Yeah,
in just saying it with some random that you don't really like, you don't get on with, because you're not going to get
yeah.
that connection.
It's a bit like co-writing as well as like dating. Like honestly, it's like you go sometimes, and even if you love the person's music and you get on, like you just don't have any chemistry for writing, and that's okay.
Mm.
And then some people you write with, and it's like bam, straight away. Oh my God, like I write with an artist called Kitty, and we just always seem to get great songs. Every time we're together, we're like, and we just have this great chemistry when we write together.
Hmm.
And I think I've got a couple of singles for our record when it comes, which is cool. But then there's other people who I've loved and I've been like, let's write together, and it's been a real slog. And I'm like, I really wanted this to work because I love your music, but we just don't have any chemistry here, and
Right.
that's okay. But it's like dating, like it's like dating, it's like pals. You don't get on with everyone.
Yeah. So let's touch on the second album, Demons, obviously released 17th of March, not long ago. Um, it was a top 10 in the Scottish album charts.
Yeah,
So along with that, you played an album launch at St Luke's, which I attended. Um, Absolutely amazing. What a gig that was.
cheers.
Everybody on stage just smiled the full night. Everybody off the stage watching you was smiling all night. It was one of the best gigs I've been in the last 2 or 3 years, obviously for COVID and stuff like that. It was brilliant to be back watching music. I'd been to see Hamish Hawk only a couple of weeks ago at the same venue as well. So I mean, St Luke's is one of the places where I might not go to it for like a year, and then I get 2 or 3 gigs there in the space of a month, and it was absolute class seeing Hamish Hawk and then seeing yourselves in that venue.
Yeah, both Asai as well. Like,
Yeah,
Hamish is class. Like, um, it feels like St Luke's is starting to become that venue. That
yeah,
it's like the new Tuts. You know, it's starting to be that point when you see someone do well there, you go, "Oh gosh, is this next step time?" It felt that certainly for us felt like a different level of show. It felt we walked off stage and went, "What just happened?" Like I was still a bit like I was still sitting like I was texting the band the other day and I was saying, "I still not really over St. Luke's." You know, usually it's like show. Oh, that was a good show. Next show, bam, 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 bam. I've still been sitting there going, "What did we just live through?" Because it was so fun. Right before we walked on stage, we had a wee chat, and I said, "Listen, what happens tonight. People probably won't believe this, but we only had one rehearsal together as a group. We had some rehearsals like where we saw it at some like I was with a couple of people, but
mm,
as one whole unit, we were only together once before that show. So I was kind of like, what happens when we walk out there. We've picked a set list. I'm going to make the call to do spin another web after we walk off and come back on. It might bomb. We deal with it. We'll add suspicious minds into the set to cheer people up after we've bombed. People are not going to love the new songs. They're going to be aware of them because they listen to the record. They're going to be like, cool. Next time we come back to Glasgow, people will love them, right? That's what happened last time. So keep in the first record stuff. Start with Dead or Alive, get out of the way. People know we usually end with that. Start with it. Get a couple of the ones, keep them happy, and get through the new record. People will probably non-respond, but appreciate it. Then then we walk out. Dead or Alive, bang. Covers. I turned to Sam, gave him a weird look because there was a couple of people in the crowd looking at me when we played covers as if I'd played, I don't know, like they just looked perplexed at what I was playing. So I don't really know what's going on. This is not what I expected. Close call, bang. The whole room. I'm like, oh shit. Let your guard down, bang.
mm.
Like people are screaming back the words to us for an album that's less than a week old. Okay, get through the set, and that every song people like. You know,
Yeah.
like and I have earplugs in, so like I can't hear so much of the crowd. I could hear so much of it. And I saw a video back recently of Let Your Guard Down, and I didn't realize how loud people were singing. But Andy had tried to say to me, the guitar player, tried to say, I can't hear my in ears because it's too loud. Like the crowd's too loud. And I was like, we were just kept turning around to each other and having this like, of what the fuck is going on? And then we came back on and did spin another web, and I'd kind of said to him like, let's just go for it. Like I said, you know what? Even after that response, I walked off in the break bit, and I went, when we go back on, use this to take, they're going to be fucking non-arsed about this moment, but we'll take it to settle ourselves before we go off and just say thanks. We made the decision that it was only going to be me and the singers. I was like, let's not have the band on for this. I'm just going to go and load it with the singers. And we were just like, everyone's singing back the words to like the slow song from the album. I was like, what is going on? Just the whole night was just a what is going on
Well,
thing.
I did say to you on that review that I had done. I mean, Spinning Other Web is without a shadow of a doubt my favourite song in that album.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's just everything about the album. And it's funny you say that. Obviously, a week between album coming out and then that show, it's amazing to think how much response. Obviously, I got the album a couple of weeks before the review, so
Hmm.
even for me, that's a short length of time for me to get the songs in my head. But
Hmm.
for those other people to have a week to get into it, just it shows you how well the album's been received, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's been another web. It's so funny. I do it every album. So with Olive Tree, I was like, I don't know, people might not like it. It's a bit of a ballad. It's a bit of a slow one. It's been another web. I was like, this is so poppy, ballady, sad song. It's not what indie folk will like. And what I found over time is that people just like songs. If a song's a song and it means something to them, they'll like it. And people keep coming back and saying "Spin on the Web's my favorite, Spin on the Web, Spin on the Web."
Mm.
And I was like, shit, it's my favorite. Like it means a lot to me. It's like the most personal song I've ever written. Maybe I didn't expect I didn't expect that response to it. And it's been like wow, yeah. I don't really have anything else to say other than like just
So,
totally
so
blown
what
away.
would obviously what would happen going forward? Obviously, you've had three singles.
Yeah,
Would you release any more singles off the album?
definitely.
And if so, obviously, with the reception you've received with Spin Another Web, would that be in contention, or would you like to kind of keep that just?
The great thing about this record is,
Can you hear that?
first of
That's my
all,
cat having a coughing up a hairball in the background.
lovely. Yeah, the great thing with this record, I guess, like one thing was like when we got Julie, who does our regional plugin, and she came back and was like, I went to Julie and I said, Julie, you're the professional. You tell me what singles we should be doing. And she came back and said, could I phone you? And I thought, oh God, here we go. She's got to tell me this album shite. She was said, I really don't know. For the first time in my life, I don't know. And Julie works with a lot of amazing artists. Like she's plugged for like Arctic Monkeys, Paul Weller, and Noel Gallagher, like you name it.
Hmm.
She was like, I've never um I've never had a record where I couldn't pick a single because every song could be a single. And I was like, oh shit, thanks very much. Um, so then we started to figure it out. So I suppose in that sense, like any song probably could be a single. Because the album's out now, when we do singles, it's really like just what we want to do and put focus on. And as you know, like visuals are a big thing, and we do a lot of music videos. So I've
Uh-huh.
got a couple of video ideas for some of the songs, which I know will then kind of make them inadvertent singles. But in an ideal world, I would have loved a pitch for it, but it's like we don't have any money, so it's like oh, like we have to go into public funding and pitch. I'd have loved to have made a video for every song, or had like a short film or like a theme, or maybe it's what I'll do for the next record, where like I'd love to make a film that's the record.
Hmm.
I'd love to get to that stage of like thinking it out, and so I've got some ideas of like little bits of that for this. So basically we're in the moment in the middle of pitching for some budget to make some videos, and that will kind of determine what singles are, and they're going to be really cool projects. And I think that's been the one thing that's been missing from this process is like there wasn't a video for the last two singles, which is not like us, but we
Yeah,
just kind of we can't afford to do them. So because it really is just me. Like that is no lie. There's a lot of artists who give you that whole there's no one involved and they have a label or they have the world's biggest promoter as their promoter, and it's bullshit. And for us, it's like that's literally just me. So I can't afford to do that, and I have to go and do funding applications to try and get funding to make a video, and they take a long time. It takes
yeah,
some funding applications are like doing like making an album because they're so extensive. But the one thing it's meant is we've always been able to do what we want to do, and everything we do with like passion and with everything we have, and we do it our way, and it means that we retain our like creative ownership
hmm
and
it's funny,
hopefully,
isn't it, when you like people just think of musicians as like you just go and record an album and that's all you do all day. I mean, I'm pals with Jamie for the La Fontaines, the drummer in the La Fontaines, and like all the guys are holding down jobs because
Mhm.
you can't just go and do music. That
No,
doesn't pay anymore. You need to
no.
go and do other jobs. He works in building sites and all sorts of stuff. He does jobs all over the place, selling Christmas
Uh,
trees and stuff like that. The guy's a
you
workaholic.
you're always grafting to be able to afford to deliver what you love,
Mhm.
and it's no different for me. Like on top of all of this, I'm doing like little bits of freelance work. I'm very lucky that it's in music and arts, and what I do now is often teaching songs, or I work putting in place support for artists, so making sure that artists have um, support for their well-being, and it's been just so amazing to meet artists every day and talk to them about their art. And it's not all music; it's all different kinds of art, and I'm really fortunate, and I get to like use all the things I used to be outspoken about. I actually get to action. I get to go to people and say, like, this is acceptable, and this artist should have this, or this company shouldn't be operating like this. And um, I'm always like keeping an eye on like the activism side of
Hmm.
the art, I guess, and just fighting for better rights for artists here, like, because there's no reason we shouldn't have our own business and our own setup in Scotland. Like, I think we're a country that isn't confident enough in ourselves, and I think we've got so much to offer this global business. But we sometimes get shy, and you've met many bands, I'm sure, who talk about London all the time, and I just think, what do you need London for? Like, do it from here. Like make it everything,
Yeah, I mean, London's got. I mean, there's good points about London, but there's also drawbacks. You know what I mean? You're better off away from it.
I
It's
think so.
just kind of you probably get more control the further away you are.
Yeah,
Yeah. So obviously, going forward, you've got an acoustic tour coming up. Where
yeah,
I mean, we touched on it earlier about these places that maybe don't get to see as much live music. So you're taking your acoustic tour all over Tobermory, Stornoway, Galashiels, Irvine, places like that. So you get that coming up the end of April, won't you?
yeah.
And then culminating in a gig in Edinburgh at the Caves.
Yeah.
So what's the plans then after that?
I mean, we get a lot of offers to go down south. We're in discussions to go back to Germany. So we're just trying to like figure out how we can make those shows happen, and then if we can make them happen, how to afford them. But because I do it myself, it's like it takes a long time.
Mm.
But I've kind of got an eye on like maybe we'll do a couple of shows at the end of the year down south. There's obviously some places in Scotland we've missed out. But next year's 10 years of Brown Bear, so then I'm like, do we just wait and do like a proper big plan for a big tour next year where we kind of go around and see everybody, and hopefully
It
by then
does,
we've had
it,
these.
it does need to culminate in the Barrowlands. You do need to
Well,
play
this
the
is it. I
Barrowlands.
know I've called it now, but yeah, I'd love to do 10 years of Brown Bear at Barris, and for me, like that'll be the end of 10 years. It's the end of this album cycle, and kind of discussions are ongoing about if it's maybe time for me to take a little hiatus from music, and if I'm going to do that, I'd like to end it somewhere big before I take a time away, because it's been a lot. I've lived through a lot. Doing it myself has been a lot, and for all the ups, there's been a lot of lows, and I haven't always looked after my well being. I'm starting to try to do that now, and I hate talking about it because I get emotional. I get like it's hard to admit that I need to. It was hard
Yeah,
to admit. It's hard to admit that, but I know that like I've started certainly saying to people like this, if this is the last time I tour, it's been an honor. And next year might be the last time. I'm not saying I would never do shows again, but I don't know if I'd ever tour again.
it takes a lot out of yourself as well, touring, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's not
and,
all
and,
cramped up to be.
yeah, and what people need to remember is like in between when we toured, I was tour managing and working on tours, so I was on the
Yeah,
road for the better part of like 9 to 10 months a year for like 4 or 5 years of my life, and I didn't have a life. I didn't. I don't. I've not. I've missed out on a lot of life things, um, and obviously, like I've been so lucky to get a bit of work in film and directing, and I'd love to explore where that goes, like making music videos for other people, working on some film, and like just in general for me, like a lot of people have asked me what will happen for the next record, and I keep saying the same thing, which is the truth as I know it. I'll only ever put an album when it's worth it,
yeah,
and to be worth it, I need to live and I need to write, and I'd rather wait another 5 years and deliver a better record than just put out songs because I had them. So I want to go and live and write and record and figure out that next record, and be able to just come back and deliver another hopefully great piece. Hopefully people think they're great pieces of work. Hopefully deliver another great piece of work to people, and
yeah.
I'd
It
rather
makes
that
total
than
sense.
trying out shit. So who knows? an enigma.
Oi, oi, you wonderful people out there. You're listening to the Time for Heroes podcast in association with the Songbird HQ. Bosh, get all over it.
The final part of the podcast, obviously, with it being called Time for Heroes, I asked my guest to pick 4 or 5 heroes to come for a dinner. Why you've chose those heroes, what they mean to you, and also I like to throw a spanner into the works. I want you to tell me what you're going to cook them as well.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so what heroes would I have? Gosh, that's a big one. Dead or alive? Does it matter?
Yeah, dead or alive.
I think I'd definitely love to have Ray Charles there. Just I think he was like the pinnacle of music, and also he's the first artist to own his own masters and all that. So I'd love to know like all of that process and like how that went down. Gosh, that's it. This is really tough. I bet there's people that just rhyme them off. Like,
No, it does throw people a bit. Some people can't choose. I always say Gemma Clark for Baby Shambles. She ended up with like a list of about 20 different people.
wow.
She couldn't whittle it down.
I
Obviously,
think,
you're going to pick John Lennon and Paul McCartney. I would.
aye, so I can spit in their food. No, that's a joke, obviously.
That'll be
I think
the Daily Record.
I know. He hates the Beatles. I think Nina Simone is like ever fascinating and just again like what an incredible person and like just so intense. It'd be an intense dinner, that's for sure. Gosh, I suppose it's really hard. Who are your heroes? Like, do you know what's funny? Like, do you know what? Who do you know I'd have at that dinner? Because I've had him at dinner already. Graham Lyle, who's one of the greatest songwriters to ever come out of Scotland. He's just a total gentleman, and I'd have Graham there because he's been just amazing in my career and then as a person.
If people aren't aware of him, could you tell the podcast kind of has background, some of the stuff he's done?
Yes, so Graham was in Gallagher and Lyle, which was like a kind of big Scottish group, and McGuinness Flint as well back in like I don't know, that would be like 60s, 70s, 70s, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm being offensive here, sorry. I think it's like maybe 70s, 80s. And Graham was a writer for Apple, and after Gallagher and Lyle, he went on to write like Tina Turner. He wrote What Stuff Got to Do with It, and We Don't Need Another Hero. He wrote for Michael Jackson, but he's from Largs, so
yeah.
When we were starting out, I got a phone call from Graham and invited me to the house in Largs, and I kind of see him from time to time, and he's just the most humble human that's ever lived. But he's just got so much knowledge and so much love and respect for music. So I think he'd be amazing to sit and chat. I think we'd love to chat to him as well. Gosh, who else? Who else is on that heroes list? See, we're getting deep now, but I think like the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Like if anyone watches wrestling, I think I'd the
Right.
American Dream.
You might be the first person to pick a wrestler for
I'm
the heroes. Yeah,
wrestling daft. Yeah, he's one of the greatest of all time. So imagine getting to sit and pick his brains about like the business.
Right.
So there you go. Like that's what a lineup so far. Graham Lyle, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Nina Simone, Ray Charles. Maybe fire in some drama there and invite like Malcolm X and see what it was all about. Like get some politics and get some like extreme politics and. But yeah, I don't know. It's really tough, isn't it? Like who do you invite to your dinner? I think I'd invite all of them because that's quite a melting pot of like iconic humans.
Yeah, it's definitely that's what I like when people kind of pick a mixture as well. I mean, nobody's ever asked me. I don't even think I could choose my heroes yet.
Yeah.
I think what I use I use this podcast for my heroes. So anybody that I've had in the podcast, I consider them a
Come for
hero.
dinner. Yes, Glasgow. I love it. I don't know. That's so. I wish I'd really like. I was saying to you before we come on here. What's this going to be about? I'm going to go away now and kick myself because there's going to be so many people that I probably say to people all the time, like, God, if I could meet anyone, I'd love to meet. I mean, I'd love to meet Stevie Wonder. So you can come.
There would be so much, so wouldn't there? Especially kind of the style of music that you're doing as well. Like there must be
Yeah,
so many kind of. Is it? I mean, I described your music as like Holland, Dozier and Holland.
yeah, that was the greatest compliment I've
So,
ever had.
like you get all those kind of iconic people from Motown that I
I
would love
know,
to sit down with all of them. But how would you whittle that down to like one or two of them as well?
I know, and probably just invite Smokey Robinson because he was the most involved, right? And then maybe like as well, it's like I love films and like I'd love to have someone like Jodie Comer over dinner. It's just such an incredible actor and like could do any accent in the world. Like you'd be like,
Yeah, for being like a mad Scouser to pull
I
off
know,
that Russian accent, you
I
wouldn't
know,
even. Like, I didn't realise she was from Liverpool because
I
obviously
know.
you've seen her in Killineve, and then to hear her speak normal, you're like, how can you do that accent? They're like a
I
million
know.
miles away from each other.
Incredible, eh? So they'd all be there, and I'd make some some like fried plantain and jollof rice and some nice African dishes, some like West African dishes. Just go to
Right.
town on it. Yeah, that's where we'd be. Get some. Uh, yeah, I think that's what I do. Like get that kind of thing going. Why would I get them into drink? There's a thing called African Fanta. Anyone knows it,
African
and that
fun.
was it's unbelievable. If you ever pass in like an African shop, they probably have it in. They'll have this big bottle of Fanta that's kind of like undescript, like it has Fanta on it. Big tall glass bottle. It's called African Fanta. That's what we call it. And some people claim it's like Nigerian Fanta, but most people say African Fanta, and it's incredible. I got that in for the show at St Luke's. I got that in as like a specialty for particularly
Right.
for the singers. And I was kind of like, this is our like treat for us from home. So yeah, that would be my dinner party. That'd be all the rage.
That sounds amazing. Sounds absolutely amazing. It's been a pleasure having you on, Matt.
Oh,
Getting
thank
you
you
up
so much.
at this time in the morning to do a podcast. Uh, if anybody wants to get in touch with you for Brown Bear or that, where can they get a hold of you?
Twitter's always good at Brown Bear Band. Instagram is Brown Bear _ official. They're the two we use most. If you're on Facebook, it's Brown Bear, www.facebook.com/Brown Bear official. But I would say like we're most active on Twitter and Instagram now, and that's just the best. But we've got a website as well. It's brownbearofficial.com, and you can sign up for the mailing list. So we're about to launch the mailing list properly. So that's like definitely a worthwhile thing doing because I kind of go through phases of like, well, am I going to be online or not? But we'll probably always be consistent once it starts on the mailing list. But that's still to start because we do it all ourselves. Everything's on the time limit of. Someone was asking me about merchandise the other day, and
Yeah, that was me, I think.
yeah,
No?
but yeah, you asked about it as well. But there's been a lot of people asking about that T-shirt, and I was basically saying, basically, I've got to do a stock count and be able to put it back online, and then I'd have to take it off for the tour. So it might be that once the tour's done, we do a stock count and it goes online then because I genuinely do self manage it. So it's like
Yeah,
you're up against it, you know. But listen, it's what else would you rather do? You know what I mean?
exactly. It's stock counts are the way forward. So I check out Matt on his Facebook and his Twitter and all that, what you said. But that's it. Thanks very much for coming on the podcast. It's been a
Oh, thanks for having me.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes Podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod@gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.